let's get straight into it. You're boring. Of course, nobody likes you. Of course, when people talk to you, they get instantly bored, start opening up their phone or talking to other people, or even maybe ignoring you, right, when you're in a group. The problems you're having, you don't like yourself, you find yourself even boring, you struggle with friends, they don't really like you, or they never text you first if they want to hang out. Of course, struggling with girls, and just having a boring life in general, right? Where's my fucking pen? There we go. Now, the reason, you think you're special, right? You think you're that guy, but to be honest with you, you're like any other guy. Especially in the self-improvement niche or in the business niche, a lot of people, they're special. They think they're special, they think they're unique, they're already the top 1%. Trust me, bro, just because you go to the gym, just because you work out, or you're focused on money and you want to do business and make money, you're not special. That's the number one goal for most men, is to become financially free. So why do you think you're special about it, right? Then of course, not having adventures, no scars, right? You're living this 9 to 5 maybe office job, you want to talk to girls. Of course, they just feel bored of you if your whole day is just about the 9 to 5 sitting in the office, right? She asks, what did you do? And you just said, yeah, I worked. Of course she's gonna fucking be bored, right? Or you're having this fucking schizo lifestyle of gym, work, and that's it. Just not enjoying life, right? You have a life that people notice, or nobody notices that you have that feeling that he got it, right? Nobody gets that feeling of you that he got it, he's that guy. Right? People notice that, right? When you walk into a room, right? You walk into the door and they instantly stare, even though you didn't say anything. You didn't even fucking slam the door. They just notice somebody walking in and he has an aura. That's that it feeling, right? And to remind you again, you are not special. You're watching this video because you're boring, so why do you think you are special? And I don't mean that as an insult, right? I mean it completely brutally honest. Stop thinking that you're special, bro. Especially if you don't have any advantage, right? A lot of people struggle with okay, they have a routine, right? At 6 a.m. they go work out. At 7 a.m. they come back home. At 8 a.m. they fucking start a business. Whatever, they have a routine, right? Till for 60% of the day they have a routine. Maybe 80% if they have a 9 to 5 job, whatever. And then they did the routine, and then they say, I don't know what to do in my free time. Why do you expect me to have adventures? I don't know what to do in my free time. I don't have any other hobbies, right? They checked off everything from their habit tracker, meditated, worked on their business, worked out, read a book, whatever. And then they don't know what to do in their free time, right? And when I say adventures, people think you need to take a fucking sword and go battle against creatures. No, this is not fucking RuneScape or some shit, or World of Warcraft. This is real life. And I say have an adventure. It's literally just pack your bags, maybe even go alone to the fucking mountains for a quick little hike, right? Or just pack your bags, so dress nicely, go grab a coffee in the next city with your car, drive around, take some pictures. Just do something that's spontaneous, that is enjoyable. That if people would be with you, people would be with you, like a girl, she will enjoy the time too, right? You going by yourself to a coffee is not cringe. You get that fucking, when a girl asks you, let me tell you this. If a girl asks you, what did you do today? And you just tell them, I fucking went to the city 60 kilometers in this direction, completely alone with just my jacket, and I fucking grabbed a coffee. Even though it's such a boring, right? Such a boring, just a fucking coffee. Such a boring story, or boring story. It's such simple thing. Such a simple thing. You just grabbing coffee. Because the way you said it, the way you had a smile on when you said it, she's gonna think, damn, he's a spontaneous guy. He's actually enjoyable, right? It's not about having big adventures. It's just having adventures in general. And now, what I want you to give, or what I want you to give you, is a homework for life. And the homework for life is from the book from Matthew Dick Storyworthy, where basically every day, for a few sentences, you write down something that you could tell a story about that happened that day, right? It might be something completely simple, right? Yeah, I grabbed the coffee and I burnt my tongue, right? But of course it could be really deep and intense. But by doing the homework for life, writing a story every day, every single day, even though it might be the most boring story, people will actually enjoy talking to you when you're able to tell stories, right? Everything in life, in any conversation, you're telling a story, right? So when you have the possibility of when people asks you, like, you tell me a story like that happened 10 years ago, or just tell me something. But if a girl asks you, what did you do, or tell you something about your life, then you can tell a story. And the more you know, do the homework for life, the more you collect those stories, the more you have like the possibility of telling a spontaneous story, of walking, you know, with a girl or with friends, and then you see something and then you instantly click, oh, that time I did that, right? It's like gratification journaling, where in the beginning it's manual. You have to manually write down what you're grateful for, and then it becomes automatic. It's the same thing here. Collect adventures, right? It might be small as grabbing a coffee, or as big as, you know, enlisting into the military, and collect those stories. Because it will make you much more interesting as a person. And it will actually make you like yourself more, because you're thinking, yeah, I did that, I did that, I did that, I did that. I'm not fucking living this boring, like, routine. Like, I'm not saying this is bad, completely. Be focused on your self-improvement, but you're completing this and then you're done. You don't have to do anything. You don't do anything in your life. You're fucking boring. So, of course, if you start collecting those stories, having adventures, you're going to enjoy yourself more, right? Because you actually have the life in your life, if you understand what I mean. And now, how to actually be a good talker. Like, if people ask you, you know, they want to talk to have a good conversation, especially with girls. Of course, you have to premeditate that you need to vibe first. You need to actually, you know, have a connection or a harmony with the people, or with the guy or with the girl you're talking to. Because if that doesn't exist, you could be the best talker, you could be the best conversationalist, it will not work, right? But if you vibe, you basically have two possibilities or two ways. You could be the boring, like, what you doing guy? Like, or what happened to your day, or what did you do today? Like the boring, right? This is also in texting. If you just text a girl, what did you do? What you doing? It's the most boring shit. It goes back to the point that you're not special, like any other guy, right? Or you could be the spontaneous guy, the fucking autist, like, that doesn't give a fuck about anything, and just ask you, like, do you like banana split? Do you like the fucking desserts? Do you eat the cherry, right? Just be completely spontaneous and have a smile on your face when you're talking to her, right? Because you know how many fucking guys are in girls' DMs sending them like, oh, you're so beautiful, or what you doing, or come over, text. If you're the fucking guy that is like kind of like just autistic and just text her like, do you like banana split, or something funny, like I know that you love eating bananas, something just dumb, she's gonna read the text message, either be confused, and then, you know, you sparked an emotion of her, she's not bored, she's confused, she's like, what the fuck does he mean by that? Maybe she finds it funny, maybe she finds it intriguing. You only have benefits by being like creative and just being spontaneous and saying some dumb shit like, do you like banana split, right? If you're that guy that just says what you're doing, because you've seen that like 20, 30 times a day, she's just gonna skip over it and find you boring. Same thing as talking, right? Of course somebody asks you like, how you doing? I'm not saying you should never ask how you're doing, right? But don't expect a special conversation when you're both laughing, where you're both enjoying the time with each other, if you're all asking like office questions, right? The basic like, I'm here, hi, handshake, how you doing, what's your name? Do you think a girl or like people are going to be attracted to you, especially like homies? Right? They're going to find you boring real quick. The way you're talking to your homies on like Discord, if you're like, you know, playing video games, just fucking saying out loud what's in your brain without having a filter. That's the way you should talk in general, right? Because what's the biggest problem is people pleasing, right? You always have a filter when you're like talking to people that you don't really know or aren't as close with, right? By the way, I forgot the tactic. If you don't know what to say, completely forgot, just repeat the last few words she said. If she's telling you a story, you know, she's saying, yeah, I went out with my friends and we went to the store and bought some makeup. And then you just say, oh, you bought some makeup. And then she says, yeah, I bought this brand and this brand. And she says, oh, this brand? How do you like that? And then, you know, you just fucking repeat the last few words of what she said. And then you fucking like have a loop where she can continue talking. And girls and women love talking, bro. And if you can keep that loop on without her getting bored, she's enjoying herself. So she's thinking she's enjoying the time with you, right? She's enjoying the time with you because she's enjoying her time with herself talking, if you understand what I mean. But back to the point of stop people pleasing. Stop saying to everybody the right thing or trying to saying the right thing to everybody, right? You're gonna have people that don't like you anyway. You're gonna have people that like you anyway. So why don't polarize? And polarization means basically having a definitive line, or having your like character be in one direction, not trying to form it to, okay, person A, I'm gonna form my personality in this direction, person B, I'm gonna form my personality in this direction. You're just that guy. You're just me. You're just him, right? You're just him. You're just a person A. You don't change yourself. That means you might say things that piss people off, right? Really piss people off, or you might say things, I can't speak. You might say things that people love, right? You need to be polarized with what you're saying. You're not trying to say the right thing, especially with girls. Like maybe a girl says, yeah, I don't like banana split. How about you? Like the geek, the nerd, the simp would say, yeah, I don't like banana split either. I don't like it. You're right. The giga chat like Adonis would say, I fucking love banana split, right? You understand? And it's not just about the banana split. I'm just saying in general, don't change yourself for other people. Stop being a people pleaser, because that will make you not special, right? If you're the guy that's just always honest, right? If a girl does something or says something that you don't like and you say that, like, you know, she fucking pulls out a cigarette and you tell her, yeah, I don't really like girls that smoke. Even though it's like something negative for her, right? She's thinking, why does he say that? She's gonna think, oh damn, he's actually kind of special. He tells me what he actually thinks, right? And that's how you actually be a good talker, is being honest and having spontaneity, and not just being the office guy, you know, oh, how you doing? How was your day? It's just fucking boring. And let me give you one rule for life. You can be the most, you can have the most adventures of your life. You can have the best stories of your life. But if you don't enjoy yourself, if you don't like yourself, if you wake up depressed and sad, right? All other people will think the same way of you. If you're the guy that wakes up with a huge smile, walks out of the door with a huge smile, right? Like this guy, like Giga Chad, people will enjoy the time with you anyway, right? And then if you have all the other benefits, or all the other things that I told you, you do that, it will just skyrocket like your attractiveness, not just sexually, but also in business with your homies. Because I think, oh damn, he's such a like enjoyable guy. He's always smiling, he's always happy, right? And that's the most important part. And because you enjoy the time with yourself, because you're having adventures, you're gonna become more happy. It's like a positive loop, right? It's a positive loop. It always like closes down and just rolls. You enjoy time with yourself, you're having more adventures, and those adventures are gonna, you know, make you tell more stories, and those more stories are gonna make people like you more, and then you like yourself more because people like you more. You know what I mean? So there's only benefits on, you know, being the guy that likes himself, kind of has that ego, being arrogant, and then doing stuff in his free time, not just being this like, you know, hustle culture, or work, and then gym, and then I don't do anything. If you're having adventures, are able to tell stories, people will like you more, man. But other than that, check the Mindset Bootcamp in the description. I'll see you in the next one.